the next time you screech, it'll explode into millions of eardrums. You'll glimmer on thousands of screens around the globe. Another blockbuster. You are a god. See? There you go, you motherfucker.
You're not far from being a god. That's what the voice tells him. But Regan Thompson isn't a god. He's a man. Fractured, delusional, clinging to what's left of his relevance. And in Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, we follow him through a descent so surreal it starts to feel like ascension. Until the very last moment, when he disappears out that hospital window, leaving us with one haunting question. Did he fly, or did he fall? Regan Thompson used to be a household name, a blockbuster superhero Birdman in a trilogy of 90s hits. He was adored by the masses, he was known, but now, he's an actor fighting obscurity, gambling everything on a Broadway play, an adaptation of Raymond Carver's What We Talk About When We Talk About Love. He's directing, producing, and starring in it, desperately trying to be more than Birdman, to prove he's not just a faded costume. But Birdman, his past self, his ego, his shame, never left. He follows Regan, speaking in his head, mocking him. He's the voice of fame, mediocrity, and mass appeal. And this is where Flight vs. Fall begins. Because it's not just about whether Regan lives or dies, it's about whether he finds meaning or vanishes into the noise. Birdman is shot to look like one continuous take, a visual metaphor for how we live, uncut, in real time, with no escape from our own thoughts. We follow Regan through hallways, dressing rooms, rooftops, and delusions, levitation, telekinesis, explosions, flight. The surreal blends seamlessly with the real, and the line between Regan's inner world and the outer world dissolves. As the film itself suggests, we live our lives with no editing. The film isn't just psychological, it's deeply philosophical. It's about art versus fame, about chasing significance versus chasing popularity, about crafting something meaningful versus becoming what the market demands. Regan wants truth, but Birdman wants traction. Birdman is a representation of something all of us can somewhat relate to, that voice inside our heads that instills doubt and judges our choices, our inner saboteur who is merely our own reflection. Regan's play becomes a battleground. His co-stars break character, the press mocks him, the critic promises to kill the play without even watching it, because she hates Hollywood actors pretending to be artists. Regan cracks, yells, drinks, hallucinates, and finally shoots himself on stage. But not fatally. The bullet takes his nose. The critic writes a glowing review, the play becomes a phenomenon, and Regan wakes up in the hospital. It's here that the Birdman voice speaks for the last time.
Bye-bye. And fuck you.
But Regan doesn't flinch. He walks to the window, looks up at the birds, and steps out. Sam enters. Sees the open window, looks down, then up, and smiles. The ending is what makes Birdman unforgettable, because it refuses to tell you what happened. It gives you three possibilities. 1. He gave in. He completed his suicide, finally free from Birdman through death. 2. He flew. Literally or metaphorically, he transcended everything and soared into freedom. 3. It's symbolic, a final illusion of release, not from life, but from the identity he tried so hard to bury. The first alternative ending to consider is The Fall. In this particular alternate scenario, Birdman ends in a tragedy. Regan has his last dialogue monologue with the manifestation of his inner identity struggle in the shape of his character Birdman, proceeding to walk over to the window in his hospital room, taking one last note of the flock of birds flying by, a symbol of him finally being free, and taking the plunge to the pavement below, essentially completing what he had started. This rather pessimistic ending insinuates that Regan had made up his mind back then on the stage, when he shot himself in the head, missing slightly and instead blowing off his nose. He finishes off what he started and failed to do, now being sure that his play will live on past him, finally achieving a name for himself, which is not Birdman. That would mean he was content, knowing that his goal of making his life meaningful has been reached, as he would now have a legacy in death. The realization signifies an end to his Birdman identity, represented by the way the apparition of the superhero did not follow Regan out of the bathroom, remaining silent as Regan says his farewell. For the alternate scenario of The Flight, in this case, instead of tragically plunging down to the harsh concrete, Regan would be seen joining the flock of birds, taking flight with them over the city of Manhattan, proving his actual supernatural abilities to his daughter. It would mean that Regan had instead come to peace with the part of himself which was represented by his past or Birdman himself, giving in and agreeing with the hallucination of the superhero's words that he would always be a part of him. In this alternative scenario, Regan embraces the Birdman part of himself, feeling freedom from the struggle. Let's call them what they are. The Fall, Regan dies, a tragic final act of a man crushed by his own ego. The Flight, Regan rises, he accepts the Birdman within him or releases it, he becomes free. Both mirror the two lives he is torn between, art versus fame. The Fall is what happens when you fail to escape the spotlight's shadow. The Flight is what happens when you reject the spotlight altogether. Whether literal or metaphorical, the flight represents freedom from ego, from failure, from the need to matter. But here's what matters most. We're never told what's real, because Birdman isn't about what happened, it's about what it means to you. The film offers no solution, because as Inuru says, perhaps the intention was not to find a solution to the journey, but to expand the possibility for the audience to interpret the story. So, did Regan fly? Or did he fall? Did he escape his ego, or become it? Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe as the film's subtitle hints, the true answer lies in the unexpected virtue of ignorance, not knowing, not needing to know. Maybe the real freedom is letting go of the question. In the end, Birdman is a mirror, and we see what we want to see. We see flight, we see fall, we see ourselves. What do you believe? Did Regan fly, or did he fall?